The Moondrop Psyche. Let's talk about it. Now, this is a $2,400 IEM. That's 2 dynamic driver, 4 BA, and 4 planar. It has a unusual faceplate. It is from the brand Moondrop. Now, this was not really sent out to many reviewers. This was bought by a friend of the channel. He sent this to me, and so this is a loan unit. Let's get into the build quality of this unique IM, and then we'll go from there. The faceplate has a unique design, but the shell itself feels really good in ears. It has good contours. It's slightly large, but I think this is mainly meant for like veteran IEM users. It feels durable in hands and it feels like it's made well. The metallic feels nice. It does look like there's some minor scratches on this. There's this weird kind of line around the IEM shell. It looks like maybe there's almost like a line around it. I almost thought I broke it for a second, but it looks like it's just part of the design nature of this IEM. I like how you can see the drivers in here very clearly. It feels like it's solid, but it might not be. I'm not 100% certain of it. And again, there's that faceplate, which is oh so unique. These are the accessories, some tips, and a USB-C adapter for the cable. Now, the cable itself, there's no real visible indicators of right and left, which is not that big of a deal. The cable does feel very stiff, but it does have a working chin slider for those that need it. Its Y-split it's nice, but it doesn't look and feel excessively premium considering the price of this. The cable is stiff. It just kind of it doesn't really sit very well and is a little bit, I don't know, almost like a stiff wire. It just doesn't feel that great in hand, but it does look nice. It does terminate in 4.4. I kind of would expect at this price you get something a little bit more unique than used on the $300 Dusk. I feel like they've used this case on a lot of models, and it's not super exciting at this price point. But there you go. There's the case. So how does this sound? Let's say I understand why they didn't send this to many reviewers, and I feel like this is more of an Eastern style release. I would describe this as thin, bright, and too clear. I would describe this as hollow voices, plasticky, cuppy with hollow bass. I don't feel this is dynamic or really a mid-centric tuning. It's a very treble and upper air focused tuning, which kind of ruins it for me. It's fine. It's not unlistenable, but it doesn't come across clean or clear. It's just kind of a unique tuning that doesn't even come across neutral. It just kind of comes across bad to my ears, and I'm not a big fan of this IEM. Having said that, I do appreciate the owner for letting me borrow this IEM, and I don't mean to meme on it because I think there's going to be people that are going to like it. But I'm gonna want to go through with the graph section with a very specific purpose of explaining why, from a graph user standpoint, I don't like this. And so that's kind of going to be my goal of the graph section. So let's start looking at some graphs and talking more in depth about the sonic qualities of this IEM and why I don't think it's that great, especially at its price point. All right, let's look at the graph, the Moondrop Psyche. And this is normalized here at around 500, which is pretty typical. And what you'll notice, that's a lot of upper mids. And what's interesting is the base curve is nice. I just wish this upper mids was dialed down a lot more. And that's its main fault. I mean, there's a few other faults of this IEM, but really I want to think about it in a different way. Like, what if you take this, and this is the highest listening volume you want to listen to here at 3K, and you normalize this at 3000. Well, you notice that everything else sounds kind of janky and it kind of goes below that target. And so in that regards, I don't really feel that this is good, but let's look at a few other IEMs so we can kind of look at what else is in the market, and we'll kind of get around to the point of what I mean by this. This is just real quick. The owner asked me to graph this with ohm adapters, which it doesn't really become sensitive to impedance, which really means that this is kind of what they intended for this IEM to have. Like every time you get more sensitive, it just becomes harder to drive, and maybe this 8K peak dies down ever so slightly, but that's the only thing I was able to notice. If we look at other IEMs from Moondrop, these are my two favorite IEMs from Moondrop. The Critical X Dust DSP, I have on a little DSP section on my ranking list. It's like my favorite DSP. I think it's fantastic for its price. You can get it for like $250. It's a really nice build. And if you're just looking for listen to something out of your phone, it's a really good way to go. The Moondrop Meteor, let's get rid of that guy. Only can look at that. The Dust DSP, way less upper mids. The bass level is about the same, so the bass level is fine, but when it's that much higher, it kind of drowns out the need for a bass, and it really just becomes hollowed out mids, and that's kind of the major issue with this IEM. If we look at something like the Moondrop Meteor, and you'll notice the Moondrop Meteor has a little bit flatter mids, like normalize this at like 3000 again. You'll notice that like here, you can kind of see if you lined it up, it's just this huge section of your music is missing, and so it's not like really done in an effective kind of a way. It's just kind of done in a, I don't know, kind of a weird way. Like it's really trying to be V-shaped, but it's not really well done, and it's just a little bit too extreme. And so like I don't think Moondrop's bad. Actually, they do some really good IEMs, but like I like the Meteor better. I like the Moondrop. I like the Moondrop DSP better. That's just me. You know, even like something like the Daybreak, which has the similar drivers, you'll notice that like one of my faults with the Daybreak is that it had too much upper mids. And, you know, if we normalize this at 800, it's a little bit better, but you can see how much more that has than say the Daybreak. And the Daybreak has like this kind of raised upper mid-range region, which is kind of really a hot tuning right now. And that's kind of something to note, that the Psyche doesn't really follow that JM1 target even remotely. I mean, you can do other things with it, but it kind of does its own thing in kind of an odd fashion. Something this does remind me of in a weird way is the Campfire Trifecta, and like the Campfire Trifecta has this crazy warmth, but you'll notice that like if you normalize this where we did, you'll see a ton more like even this upper midsy regions from 2 to 3K region, and something like the Trifecta, it really kind of pops out how egregious the Psyche's flare is. And I think sometimes when you have a flat IEM graph, it has a little bit less dynamic areas, and it just kind of has some weirdities to it that can be not as engaging and fun. It's like it's not even really fun, it's just kind of like blared up. It's like someone hit the treble switch and just really cranked it. You know, I recently reviewed the high-end Audio Max. It's an interesting set, and it's like $300. I didn't really like it. I thought it was okay, but you'll notice that that has a little bit more sub bass, but it has this tons of the same upper mids region. It has that similar kind of a problem, and that's just something to kind of note, that I was pretty consistent about not really liking that IEM. If you look at something like the KZ Symphony, this reminds me a little bit of the KZ Symphony, just in that it's like it's kind of a little bit outside what the brand does, and it's not very good, and it has a lot of like lower mid-range dip, and that's just something to note. The Psyche is not a bad set. It's just not that good, and that's just what's disappointing, is that there's a lot of anticipation for a set like this. Like, oh, it's pretty, it probably sounds really sweet and has sweet vocals. It does not. It just has a lot of glare and like shimmer, and it doesn't really do female vocals very well. It's just a little bit cracked for me. All right, another one to look at. It's like, this is an IEM I didn't like very much. This is like the NDX12. I got this as like one of the first IEMs I'd ever been sent just as a YouTuber, and it's just kind of an interesting set. Like you'll notice this kind of matches this sort of style, where like tons of upper mids, tons of bass, and like a huge lack of mid-range clarity at all. If this is what you're looking for and you really like something like the NDX12, this would be your end game. Or you like something like the Symphony, this would be your end game. It does have a lot of that upper mids region energy, which I know there are a lot of people that like, but that's definitely not me and not what I want. Like another IEM that I liked, I mean, it was okay. The TRN Medusa kind of has a similar tonality, and it's like $30. This is something to kind of try and see if that would work for you. Like if you tried something like this, the Medusa, and you're like, oh yeah, this is pretty good, and you've tried an IEM like this, then I could consider maybe the Psyche is your end game. But for me, these IEMs just didn't work. They were a little bit too aggressive in that region, and it wasn't for me by any means. All right, the Moondrop Psyche. Let's ring this guy up. I mean, I'm not giving the dynamics very good because it doesn't sound dynamic. It sounds harsh. I don't say the mid's that good. It's just not that great. The upper treble is not bad. Like I tried EQing this and it wasn't great. It was better. The soundstage was also just kind of okay. It's not a bad set, but it's definitely not a good set, and I think there's a lot of better value in the market for this IEM. I think it's kind of for collectors and for people that are looking at that very, very specific tonality, as it just sounds really abrupt and harsh. At this price point, there's a lot of other IEMs that I would recommend. Here's some of the ones I would recommend. I mean, there's even a few IEMs that are a little bit cheaper, like even like the Luna or the new Q. Would be really good for some of you guys, especially if you're just starting out in the hobby. At least that's what I think. But it's a preferential based hobby, and there are going to be people that are going to like the Psyche, but it gets a no rec from me. You look at even Moondrop's other its areas. Like I like the meteor, I like the variations. Even if we look at TWS, like you'll notice the DSP is the number one on the DSP ranking. Like it's a really good IEM. I really enjoy it. And I really like the meteor and the variations. Although the meteor had a little bit too much upper mids, but not nearly the fact of the other ones. Like something like the variations, the meteor, even like the dusk, even like the cadence would be better in some ways. I just think it's an okay IEM that doesn't really hit the mark for me. And I mean, I could even see some people liking the Aria 2 better. I think the Aria 2 and even like the Kato and the Harmon might be better. There's a lot of better IEMs that I think Moondrop has done. And I think it's like, you got to really know what you want. But this is kind of an interesting IEM in the style of Moondrop. It is not something that like a lot of their IEMs are very similar, like the Aria 2, the Kato. A lot of them kind of have that mid bassy sort of nice upper mids, kind of like the Illustrious kind of flow. This is not it. This is kind of its own beast altogether. The high-end market is a funny thing. The audiophile hobby is extremely small and extremely it's a funny, almost cliquey little group and area. Like a lot of manufacturers, what they'll do is they'll send their IEMs to review groups and get like 5 or 6 IEMs to people, and they will get reviews out of them and have certain regulations and stuff. And so you will see certain times IEMs will go around to reviewers for different reasons, like why IEMs go to different reviewers and why they don't go to them is different and unique. Sometimes they go as a tour, sometimes they go as a full brand sample, and that's often what the case is. And so something like this wasn't sent out for a couple of reasons. I think this was maybe a tuning for the Eastern markets and not for Western users, because they know people like me would probably eviscerate it like I've kind of just done. I don't see a lot of other of my audiophile friends liking this, although I think some people might like the design and appreciate what it is. Again, a big shout out to the guy who sent this out to me, Z. He's on my Discord, and I really appreciate him. I think this is a very unique, beautiful IEM, and I wish they would do more designs that are kind of bold and engaging like this. And so there is certain aspects of this that I think are enjoyable and good. But sonically, is it worth it? No. I mean, oftentimes tuning trumps drivers. Tuning trumps any kind of land of technicalities. If one region like the bass or the lack of the treble or the lack of our excessive mids or lack of drives you crazy, an IEM is just going to be all of a sudden F tier or garbage tier, or it's just going to sound terrible to you. So an IEM, even though it might be expensive, it's going to have of no value to you, and that's the issue with this hobby. And it's it is kind of what it is. Sorry, I kind of went on a rant here, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about maybe why the sign wasn't sent out. It's not always are they going to send out their expensive sets to people. So there you go. Thanks for watching. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments below, and I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.
Go.
Go!
Go.
Go on with you!
You're mid, you're mid, you're mid, you're legendary. You're mid. Jaytis out.